This is AF24 News Interview. And today we are having an interview with a consummate statesman, a great Nigerian, one of the leading voices we have in the country at the moment, a living legend, and the leader of Afenifere movement, Pa Ayo Adebanjo. So good to have you here, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Yes. We are here. You have been very vocal when it comes to issues, national issues now. And presently there's this raging debate about the VAT, the collection of tax.
VAT. Yes.
VAT by states. There's this raging debate between the states and the federal government. We would want to know your stand on this, sir. And particularly, we want to know the fears that people that oppose the state collection of taxes, that it will cause double taxation on organizations and on Nigerians. Do you agree that state collection will trigger double taxation on Nigerians?
There is no question of debate or whether you agree or not. The uproar is due to the fact that we are running a fraudulent constitution. The constitution is imposed. It is not the constitution we had at independence, which has all the problems you're having now. Is as a result of the abrogation of the constitution by the military in 1966. If you go back to what we had, what brought us together at independence, no problem. And it's the reluctance of Buhari to go back to where we started when the army decided to go back to the barracks, and that you are going back to the barracks, send us back to the constitution you met us. If that problem was done, that would have no problem. The question of restructuring we are talking about now is not a new one. There is no philosophy or political theory of restructuring. What it means is restructure back to federalism, which brought us together. It's very simple. If Buhari is going to be honest, or anybody contesting this is be honest, that is the issue. The problem of VAT, the problem of state police, the problem of devolution of VAT have been settled at independence. But the problem arose or started when the military, through the military incursion in 1966, when they set aside the suspended constitution and Decree 24. All the provisions that are causing problems today were imposed by a sectional army, mainly Fulani Muslims, that took over, that created this constitution. And it's on record that when they turned to the barracks, Absalom said that the constitution is given to Obasanjo. He didn't see it. Obasanjo bought the poke, the poke. You remember Absalom said that he does not know it until the day was sworn in. It was the military that did it. It was the constitution they suspended. They dropped their own constitution. Abacha did his own. And then they said, well, go back to it. And if people will remember, by the time they said we are going, in 1998, they said we are going back to civilian regime. Now, Deco, led by Afenifere, then said, no, we are not going to do any election until you go back to the constitution we had, that was then the agitation for sovereign national conference, which is something of the restructuring now. What does it mean? If you are not going to go back to the independence of the constitution, we must sit down and agree on the new constitution. And the sovereign national conference we are talking of then, which Obasanjo opposed, saying that he's not going to do anything against the constitution he has said. Which constitution? What it only means is that we must sit down together, all the ethnic nationalities, sit down together and agree whether they want to live together. If you want to live together, how? And the essence of that is that we are talking of sovereignty. I explained to Obasanjo then, when he said that there can be no true sovereignty, I said, no, you're already in power. The sovereignty we are talking about does not affect the incumbent president. It affects the sovereignty of that body that is going to make the constitution. That whatever we agree there is not subject to any amendment by any extra judicial or extra parliamentary body like the military, like we did for Land Use Act. No. What we agreed there can only be subject to referendum. He said no. That was what we were dragging on. And by the time he said we are going to do election, we said no. That's Abacha, that's Nadeko, and Afenifere. Absalom is still alive. Afenifere refused them to take part in the election if you don't do that conference and let us agree. We are not going to go on election on a military constitution. He said, in a hurry. When you have your government, you can go and do it. It's already alive. As a matter of fact, the Alliance for Democracy, which Afenifere formed then, was not qualified from the time that the military laid down, because there are conditions that must have branches of the alliance in all over the country. Must have in Sokoto, must have in Kaduna, and we haven't got the money. And he said, if you don't register any party from the West, you are joking. He forced them to register us. We were not qualified. I'm saying it on record. He's still alive. It was his veto to make the election credible that we must take part. It was on that, we took part of that election on protest, that when we get in, we are going to change it. And if you go into the record, the manifesto, the clarion call of Alliance for Democracy then was Sovereign National Conference. That was the mandate we got from the people of the whole of the Western region. And they voted for en masse. That was the condition that which Tinubu, Osoba, Adebanjo, Lamadeshino, Akande, the presidents Akande, were elected. And we told them, how will be elected? We have got the mandate of the people. Don't go to any meeting at Abuja until we hold that conference. But unfortunately, our flag bearers, they are still there now. They are chiefing with the APC now. What can I say? Did they sell out? They would like to hear that from the sell out. They didn't insist on that. That's why we are today. You see, that time we have been on and on and on it until first election, second election, we are still talking now. When they are now still talking about that, they say, all right, must restructure this country because the army restructured Nigeria. That's how restructuring came in. The system we have of federation, the army restructured it in 1966 and introduced this system, which is unitary, which is falsely and fraudulently called federal. And when you say something is federal, local government, state police, revenue allocation, it was settled out derivation. It was derivation, then that's what you call resource control now. They are clarified there. Even under this their constitution, where they say the federal government should collect, the provision is there that collects and give return back to the from area that you got 50% and take your commission. It's there. They say that they would do. It is in the absence or the reluctance or the mischief of Buhari and the army controlled by the ethnic group is important. Because when we were going to vote for Buhari and this one, I said, well, don't vote for this man because he's a tribal jingoist.
That was in 2015.
Yes, of course. You remember, you go and take my interview in Vanguard. I was a Lone Ranger. Even Pastor Jordan, who is opposing him now, supported him. I said, this man is not a Democrat. He's a dictator. He's a born federalist, trained as a dictator. He will not obey the rule of law. All that is there. There is nothing I said then there that has not been executed by him in total. And I warned them, don't vote for this man. I would like to be vindicated. Because if you vote for him, the damage that must have been done then will not be reversible. There we are today. And when I use the language that Tinubu, Osoba, Adebanjo, and all those who were elected on the platform for that they sell out, these were the conditions. These are the people now, including the VP, who are now opposing restructuring. And when they just came into the VP who was then the Attorney General of Tinubu in Lagos State, took Obasanjo to court for withholding their local government allocations. You can't do it under the federal system. The case went on to Supreme Court, and they were vindicated. That is the man now saying, what do you mean by restructuring? And you see, the problem we are having in the country today is General Muhammadu Buhari is not sincere about keeping the country together. All that he has been doing since he came into office is to want the Fulanization of Nigeria in order to Islamize the country. I am saying positively, without any fear of contradiction. And if anybody wants to contradict me, go and look at the interview of Wing Commander allow me. He has said it all. He has said it all. He said the man behind Boko Haram, Buhari knows them. He has given this to them. And many of them are governors today. He said it was about just a month ago. They are governors today. They are in Senate. And they are in Aso Rock. Then that guy Bashewu, no Adeshino, no Lai Mohammed has opened their mouths to refuse these statements ever since. And the man claimed, I have worked in the security. the highest position you can have. And when he was even questioned that Buhari can't do it, he after all, he asked the people to do it. He has said he has bought the materials to call them and say, you are deceiving yourself. The man has bought the raw material which will not bring of any effect. What about the people who are working as I know? He has to give the army officers instruction to act. And his body language does not do so. He said openly. And then I used now say the man, he said, the man responsible. I'm not saying it. And he said he's working from inside. If this country has been in another palace, if we have been what we ought to be, Buhari should not have spent a day longer in office after that interview. If you are beyond the parliamentary system, the vote of no confidence will have been passed on him. If this Senate had not been a mumu Senate, they should have impeached him. And in fact, if you look at that interview, Olaomi said he should be impeached. And the man said, well, that's the view that he should be impeached. He said the list, and you will also remember, this Buhari government announced that they have arrested 400 people who are supporting Boko Haram. He announced it to us. Have you heard anything about this today? And now we said he will not touch them because he knows about it. That strong allegation of more or less treason against the head of state. Somebody made it the open and nothing has happened to him. The first of all made a noise that they want to see him. And the man said, I'm available. When they see the reaction of the public, they say, no, they just want to interview him. How can a man make such an allegation against the head of state under a serious situation we have in the country today? And no reaction, no explanation. Now he now want to divert the narrative. Now talking where will the presidency go? Is he go to decide or not? That is not the question now. We must change this constitution before any election. If Buhari is here, except going to wipe all of us out.
Sir, the issue of constitution now, there are some voices that are clearly against this issue of going back to having states, police, state controlling their resource. One of their major fears is that we may have a situation where some regions may become so powerful that they can decide to fund their own army and
my dear,
does that?
I say positively, whoever is talking borderdash. Are you federal or unitary? What we are asking for are the provisions under a federal constitution.
They fear that.
No, hold on, because I want you to see how dishonest this government is, how insincere anybody says it is, to show that they deliberately just put the facts aside and describe a new narrative. All the devolution of what they're asking for, state police, local government, are the provisions of a federal constitution. And that's why I said Buhari will not restructure the country, because the awesome power is using now under this constitution will be gone. And the advantages that his ethnic group is having will be gone. And it's already, I've said it. That is why each time he will never, all the time we are talking about structure, as if he come to the air and explain, no, it's not good, because this is the way to keep us going. He has not said anything. He leave all the nonsense to Garba Shehu and Adesina and Lai Mohammed. Those are Bagafo. And on the occasion that Brendan said he talk out, he will send us Boss Mustafa. We didn't vote for Boss Mustafa. We are being insulted in this country.